joining us now, running for re-election, House of Delegates member from the Eastern Shore and Norfolk, District 100, 100, that's his lucky number. Rob Bloxom joining us. Rob is what we call an FOJ, friend of John. All around great guy, doing a great job up there. Won all kinds of awards. Rob Bloxom, good to have you with us, man.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Hey, Rob, I love having you on my show because you go home every weekend during the General Assembly, and when you're not in session, you run 3 local businesses. You run a tire store, you run a seafood store, and you run what? There's something else. What's the other one?
An auto parts store. Yeah, the family.
You run an auto parts store.
Auto parts store.
Auto parts, tires, and seafood, and you talk to real people every day. I mean, you're part of the community, and I know you're running for re-election. We have you comfortably ahead, but you never know. Obviously, you got to get your people out. What are people on the Eastern Shore saying about this election? When you talk to them and you go knock on doors, they come into your place of businesses, Rob, what are they saying?
Well, since we have a homeboy on the top slate of officers, it's kind of probably brought a little more focus to the statewide races. So I don't think turnout's going to be an issue here, for me anyway. A lot of people just say, oh, don't worry about it, you've got it. And I'm thinking, no, you need to vote. Your family needs to vote. You know, your cohorts need to vote. I need you to come out and vote. So I'm hoping we have a big turnout. We'll see. I mean, I'm optimistic, but working hard through the end.
Now, Ralph Northam, running for governor, the lieutenant governor, from the Eastern Shore. You've been friends with him for a long time. You rode the school bus with him to school back in the day. I remember that. And your families were friends with each other. You played basketball with him and all that stuff in high school. How is he playing right now on the Eastern Shore?
I'm not. I think it's going to be really interested when the votes come in, John. I think a lot of people have just kind of looked at him and figured he's drunk the Kool-Aid, and I'm not so sure he's going to do that well with a lot of his stances on issues. I think people are going to look at the issues and say, we can't. I love him, but I can't vote for him. So I think I think it's going to be an interesting election night.
Rob Bloxom, what did you think of that ad that he ran, or that was run by the Latino Victory Fund, but now we're finding out that it was an in-kind contribution back, and obviously if you get an in-kind on your disclosure form, you know what it is. You were in coordination with them. What do you think of that ad and then the way it's transpired? Like, first they denied it, then they can't hide the money. Now they're changing their story the third time. What did you make of this whole thing, Rob?
I've never run for an office where I've ever had paid campaign staff. I mean, my volunteers, we do it all ourselves. I don't know if you get to that level, you lose control. I would think that he would have at least looked at the ad. I would, I mean, there's stuff that was sent out for me that I never saw. I called Richmond the first time I ran and said, if you keep helping me, I will lose. Don't help me. I don't need these ads. I've always been a positive campaigner. In fact, right. I don't even mention my opponent's name. I don't see the point of it. Everything I've done is a positive vision, and I really think that in the long run, I think that Ed has done a very good job at presenting a positive agenda, presenting 19 or 20, 21 policies, his policies on the internet. I mean, he's got, and he's a policy geek. He's got, detailed oriented, this is what I want to do. So no one can question where it is on the issues. Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's going to be really interesting to see how the local, when you get in there in the ballot box, are people actually going to vote against? I know Ralph, but I can't stand his stance on, you can name all the issues, so I can't vote for him. Or are they going to go in there and just hold their nose and say, gosh, I really, I know Ralph, he's a good doctor, and I'm going to vote for him. So it's going to be really interesting to see.
You look at Ralph Northam, and you and I both know him very well. Obviously, you went to school with him, and your families know each other quite well. I don't know him as well, obviously, but I spent a lot of time with him. and I don't recognize him now. I mean, I recognize him physically, but I don't recognize anything else about him.
Right.
And it's almost like it was. Remember that movie Rob Bloxom, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where the pods came down and you'd go to sleep and they take your body over.
Right.
It's like, is this Invasion of the Body Snatchers? I mean, this isn't the same
funniest,
guy that I knew.
The funniest comment that has been told me during the re-election cycle was, "I'm not so sure Senator Northam would vote for Governor Northam." So, you know.
Oh, that is a great line. I'm going to have to steal that.
Well,
I'm not so sure that Senator Northam.
Someone told me that, and I'm like going, "Oh, that's not a good commentary." I mean, you know.
All right, Rob, getting reelected again, back to the General Assembly, which convenes in a couple months. First, second week in January from the Eastern Shore. Your district, all of the Eastern Shore and part of Norfolk. What are your top priorities, Rob?
You know, I've never had what I call a burning sword issue. You know, I'm not running, you know, against a windmill of, like, my opponents yelling for Medicaid expansion, and I'm sitting there looking at them going, you know, if President Obama himself were sitting in the 100th seat, Medicaid expansion is not happening in Virginia the way that contract is written with the federal government. It's just not going to happen. So, you know, it's one of those things. I think that you need government that looks at every law to see if it's going to increase regulation on the people, make it harder to get a job, make it harder to work, make it harder to make a living. And we need to make sure that every bill we look at, it takes that into consideration. You know, does it really solve a problem? If it doesn't solve a problem, is it a solution looking for a problem? If that's the case, then why don't put it on the books? We just don't need more laws. You know, to have more laws. We need to make sure that everything we do is simplifying things. I want government that works within its budget that makes sense. That's my whole goal.
What is your message to the constituents that live in your district right now that are still undecided? What's your message to them, Rob?
I think I've worked hard at representing the area. Worked hard at making sure that our way of life has been beneficial. The laws we passed, the bills that we consider, and make sure that we, you know, everybody wants the same thing. They want their kids to do better than they did. They want good schools. They want good roads. You know, they want to be safe. So, you know, those three things, the core functions of government, the education, the transportation, and public safety, I mean, those things need to be maintained, paid for, and everything else that we consider, I kind of consider fluff. You know, if you've got extra money, then it's okay to do that, but let's not create a program that's going to just drain our budget year after year for little or no gain for the society as a whole. So, you know, I just kind of look at it as a business, as I'm running my business right now.
All right, that's going to be the final word. Businessman, entrepreneur, talks to real people every day. They come in the shop, they get tires, they get parts for their automobile, and they buy seafood. Yeah. And that's what he does. House of Delegates member, Republican, District 100, all of the Eastern Shore and part of Norfolk. And he needs your vote on November 7th. And a great friend of the John Fredericks Show. He's a great guy. Vote for Rob Bloxom on November 7th. Thanks for being with us, Robert.
Thank you, John. You have a great day.